Before this video ends, you are going to know exactly what to say in the moment that scares you the most. I promise you that. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to EFL USA. I'm Grace, and today I am not going to give you a long grammar lesson. I am not going to give you a list of words to memorize and forget by tomorrow. Today, I am going to give you something you can use in real life, this week, maybe even tomorrow morning, right now. Close your eyes for just a second. Or, if you are driving or walking, just imagine this in your mind. You are sitting across from a manager. She is holding a piece of paper with your name on it. She looks up at you and she asks the first question. So, tell me about yourself. Stop right there. Could you answer that question in English right now in 3 seconds without translating in your head first? Be honest with yourself. If your answer is no, or if your answer is, I don't know, you are exactly where you need to be today, because that is exactly what we are fixing. This channel is called EFL USA, and this video is part of our Practical English for Life in America series. Today's topic is English for work and job interviews. By the end of this video, you will know the exact words, the exact phrases, and the exact sentences that native English speakers use in a real American job interview, not textbook English. Real English, the kind you actually need when your job, your income, your family's future is sitting right there in that room with you. Before we start, if this video helps you, tap subscribe and tap the bell. It is free, and it means you will not miss the next lesson in this series. Now, let's begin. I want to tell you about a woman named Daniela. Daniela is not a real person's exact name, but her story is the story of thousands of people who watch this channel. Daniela moved to the United States 2 years ago. Back in her home country, she worked for 8 years as a nursing assistant. She was good at her job. She was patient with patients. She knew how to take blood pressure, how to help someone walk after surgery, how to comfort a scared family in the middle of the night. But when Daniela arrived in America, all of that experience suddenly felt invisible. Not because it disappeared. It was still there, inside her, every skill, every year of practice. But she could not find the English words to show it to anyone. And in America, if you cannot say it, sometimes it feels like it does not exist. For 6 months, Daniela did not apply for a single job in her field. She worked cleaning houses instead, which is honest work, good work. But it was not the work she had trained for, not the work she loved. Every night, she would look at job listings for nursing assistants and home health aides, and every night, she would close the laptop before finishing the application. Why? Because at the bottom of every job listing, there were 3 words that made her stomach tighten. Interview required. Listen to that phrase with me now. Interview required. Say it with me. Interview required. One more time, a little faster. Interview required. Good. That phrase simply means you must have a face-to-face conversation with the employer before they will hire you. It is required, which means it is not optional. You cannot skip it. Daniela's fear was not about her skills. Her fear was about one single moment. The moment when someone looks at her and asks a question in fast, natural English. And she has to answer right away, with no time to think, no dictionary, no translator app under the table. Do you know that fear? If you do, keep listening. Because Daniela's story is about to change, and yours can too. One Tuesday morning, Daniela's cousin sent her a link to a job opening at a small clinic outside Columbus, Ohio. Home health aide, part-time, flexible hours, training provided. Daniela read the description 3 times. It matched everything she had done back home. Her hands were shaking a little as she clicked, apply. 2 days later, her phone rang. She almost did not answer because the number was unfamiliar, and unfamiliar numbers usually meant fear. But something made her pick it up. "Hi, is this Daniela?" a friendly voice said. "This is Rachel from Sunrise Home Care. I got your application, and I'd love to bring you in for an interview. Are you available this Thursday around 10 in the morning?" Daniela's heart was pounding, but she remembered something she had practiced. She took a breath and said, "Yes, Thursday at 10 works for me." Thank you so much for calling. Listen to that sentence again. Thursday at 10 works for me. Shadow it with me now. Repeat exactly what I say. Thursday at 10 works for me. One more time. Thursday at 10 works for me. That is a simple, natural way to confirm an appointment time in English. Not "yes, I can," which sounds a little stiff. That works for me sounds natural, confident. Like something a native speaker says every single day. After the phone call, Daniela sat on her couch and stared at the wall for a long time. She had done it. She had said yes. Now the real fear began, because in 3 days, she would be sitting in a room with a stranger who would decide something important about her future, based almost completely on what came out of her mouth in English. This is the moment I want you to notice, because it is the moment almost every English learner faces eventually. Not the fear of studying, not the fear of grammar books, the fear of the live moment, the real conversation. The interview chair. Here's what I want you to understand today, and I want you to really hear this. You do not need perfect English to succeed in a job interview in America. You need the right English. Specific, practical, prepared English. And that is exactly what we are building together right now. Let's go back to Daniela for a moment, because her story is not finished, and neither is our lesson. Thursday morning arrived faster than she expected. She put on her best blouse. She practiced her name in the mirror. "Hi, my name is Daniela." Slowly, clearly, so her accent would not hide her words. She left 45 minutes early because she was terrified of being late. The clinic was small, clean, with soft green walls and the smell of coffee in the waiting area. A woman with short brown hair came out to greet her. "You must be Daniela. I'm Rachel. Thanks for coming in." They shook hands. Daniela's palm was a little sweaty, But her voice, when she finally used it, came out steadier than she expected. "Thank you for having me," Daniela said. Listen to that phrase. Thank you for having me. Shadow it. Thank you for having me. One more time, a little slower this time so you catch every word. Thank you for having me. This is one of the most useful sentences in any interview in America. It shows respect, it shows good manners, and honestly, it makes you sound confident, even if your heart is racing underneath. They sat down across from each other at a small, round table. Rachel opened a folder with Daniela's resume inside it. And then, exactly like Daniela had imagined in her worst dreams, Rachel smiled and asked the question. "So, tell me a little bit about yourself." For 1 second, one full second that felt like an hour, Daniela's mind went completely white. Every English word she had ever learned seemed to disappear at once. This is the moment. This is the moment we are going to fix together. Right now, in this video. So that when it happens to you, and one day it probably will happen to you, you will not freeze the way Daniela almost did. But here is the good news, and this is why I am telling you her story. 2 weeks before this interview, Daniela had found a channel just like this one. She had practiced this exact question over and over in her car, in the shower, while washing dishes. And because her mouth had already practiced the shape of the answer so many times, her body remembered what her mind forgot in that frozen second. She took a small breath and she said, "Sure, I have 8 years of experience as a nursing assistant back home, and I really love helping people, especially older patients who need extra care and patience. I moved to the US 2 years ago, and I'm very excited about this opportunity because home health care lets me use everything I already know in a new place for people who really need it." Listen to that answer one more time. A little slower, in small pieces, so you can shadow each part. I have 8 years of experience as a nursing assistant. Shadow it. I have 8 years of experience as a nursing assistant. I really love helping people. Shadow it. I really love helping people. I'm very excited about this opportunity. Shadow it. I'm very excited about this opportunity. Do you feel that? That is not a complicated sentence. There is no difficult grammar in it. It is simple, clear, honest English, and it is exactly the kind of answer that works in a real American interview. You do not need fancy words. You need clear words, said with confidence. Rachel smiled and wrote something on her notepad. "That's wonderful," she said. 8 years is a lot of experience. Can you tell me about your qualifications? Do you have any certifications from your training back home or here in the US? There it was, a new word. A word Daniela had heard before, but was never fully sure how to use in a sentence. Qualifications. Her mind flickered for just a moment, but this time, instead of panic, she felt something else. Curiosity. Focus. Because she remembered practicing this exact word. Let's stop the story right here for a moment, because this is exactly where we need to build your vocabulary. The same vocabulary Daniela needed in that chair. If you do not know this word well yet, by the end of this section, you will use it like it has always been part of your English. The word is qualifications. Listen to it. Qualifications. Shadow it with me now. Say it slowly. Qualifications. One more time at normal speed. Qualifications. Here is what it means in very simple words. Qualifications are the skills, training, and certificates that show you are able to do a job. It is proof. Proof on paper, or proof in your experience, that you can really do what the job needs. Here is an example sentence. My qualifications include 8 years of hands-on nursing experience and a first aid certification. Listen to that sentence again. My qualifications include 8 years of hands-on nursing experience and a first aid certification. Shadow it now. Repeat the whole sentence after me. My qualifications include 8 years of hands-on nursing experience and a first aid certification. Here is a second example, shorter and simpler, for when someone asks you directly, what are your qualifications for this position? You could answer, my main qualification is my experience, but I'm also willing to get any additional certification the job requires. Listen again. My main qualification is my experience, but I'm also willing to get any additional certification the job requires. Now shadow it with me, piece by piece. My main qualification is my experience. Shadow it. But I'm also willing to get any additional certification the job requires. Shadow it. Now it's your turn. I want you to say one sentence out loud, right now, using the word qualifications about yourself, even if it's not perfect. Pause the video if you need to, or just say it in your mind quickly, then continue. Good. That single sentence you just made, that is real progress. That is the difference between knowing a word and owning a word. Back to Daniela. She looked at Rachel and said, I don't have a U.S. certification yet, but I completed a full nursing assistant training program back home, and I'm currently looking into getting certified here as well. I learn very quickly, and I'm ready to start training whenever you need me. Notice what Daniela did there. She did not hide the gap in her qualifications. She did not panic and go silent. She named the truth clearly, and then she turned it into something positive, something forward-looking. That skill, turning a weakness into a plan, is worth more in an American interview than pretending to be perfect. Rachel nodded, clearly satisfied with the honesty. That's totally fine. A lot of our aides get certified after they start. Now, let's talk about your availability. We have shifts open in the mornings, and also some overnight shifts on weekends. What does your schedule look like? Availability. Another important word, and this time, I want you to notice something. This word appears in almost every single job interview in America, no matter what job you are applying for. Retail, restaurant, office work, home care, construction, it does not matter. If you learn to talk about your availability with confidence, you will use this skill again and again for the rest of your working life in this country. Listen to the word. Availability. Shadow it slowly. A-V-la-B-B-li-T. One more time at normal speed. Availability. Here is what it means in simple words. Your availability is the specific days and times you are free and able to work. It is your schedule from the employer's point of view. Example sentence. My availability is pretty flexible, but I prefer morning shifts. Listen again. My availability is pretty flexible, but I prefer morning shifts. Shadow it with me now. My availability is pretty flexible, but I prefer morning shifts. Here is a second example for someone with more limited time. I'm available Monday through Friday from 9 to 3 because I also take care of my kids after school. Listen once more. I'm available Monday through Friday from 9 to 3 because I also take care of my kids after school. Now shadow it slowly in 2 parts. I'm available Monday through Friday from 9 to 3. Shadow it. Because I also take care of my kids after school. Shadow it. Now, your turn again. Say one true sentence about your own availability out loud right now. Use the word available or availability somewhere in that sentence. Even 3 words count. I'm available weekends. That is a full, correct, usable sentence. Say it with pride. Daniela thought for a moment and then answered clearly. I'm available most mornings during the week. And I could also do some weekend shifts if needed. Mornings work best for me because of my other commitments in the afternoon. Perfect, Rachel said, writing again. That actually lines up really well with what we need. Do you feel what is happening in this conversation? Daniela is not translating sentence by sentence in her head anymore. She is not frozen. She is using short, clear, prepared phrases, the exact ones we are building together right now. And the interview is starting to feel less like an attack and more like a normal human conversation. That shift from attack to conversation is exactly what we are building toward in this video. For you. Let's pause here for one more moment before we move forward, because there is a piece of vocabulary hiding inside Rachel's last sentence that you need to be able to use yourself. Rachel said, that actually lines up really well with what we need. That phrase, lines up, simply means matches or fits together well. Listen to it. Lines up. Shadow it. Lines up. You could use it yourself later in an interview by saying, I think my experience lines up well with what you're looking for. Listen again. I think my experience lines up well with what you're looking for. Shadow it with me now. I think my experience lines up well with what you're looking for. Keep that sentence in your pocket. It is a confident, natural way to connect your background directly to the job without sounding like you memorized a script, even though, secretly, you did. Rachel glanced down at her folder again, and Daniela noticed something. The next question on Rachel's list was circled in pen. that usually means it matters to her. Daniela's stomach tightened just slightly because she could guess, from the shape of the folder and the careful way Rachel was choosing her words, that this next question would not be as easy as the last two. "One more thing before we move on," Rachel said. "Do you have any references we could contact? People who have worked with you before, who could speak to your experience?" References. This word can feel intimidating the first time you hear it in an interview, especially if you are new to the country and you are not sure who exactly counts as a reference or what you are supposed to say if you do not have someone from an American job yet. Let's build this word together, the same way we built the last two, so it never surprises you again. Listen to the word. References. Shadow it slowly. References. One more time, at normal speed. References. Here is what it means, in the simplest way possible. A reference is a person who knows your work, who is willing to talk to an employer and confirm that you are reliable, hardworking, and good at your job. It is like a trusted voice speaking on your behalf when you are not in the room. Example sentence. I can provide 2 references from my previous job, including my former supervisor. Listen again. I can provide 2 references from my previous job, including my former supervisor. Shadow it with me now, the whole sentence together. I can provide 2 references from my previous job, including my former supervisor. But what if, like many people watching this video, you do not have a reference from an American employer yet? This is a very common situation, and there is a natural, honest way to answer it. Listen to this sentence. My previous work experience is from outside the U.S., but I'm happy to share contact information for my former supervisor. And I also have someone from my community here who can speak to my character. Listen once more, a little slower this time. My previous work experience is from outside the U.S. Shadow it. But I'm happy to share contact information for my former supervisor. Shadow it. And I also have someone from my community here who can speak to my character. Shadow it. Notice something important here. You are never required to hide the truth in an interview. You are only required to say the truth clearly, calmly, and with confidence. Employers in America respect honesty far more than they respect a perfect, memorized answer that falls apart the moment they ask a follow-up question. Now it's your turn again. Think, right now, of one real person you could list as a reference. It could be a former boss, a former coworker, a teacher, even a community leader who knows your character well. Say their role out loud in English in one sentence. I can list my former manager as a reference. Say it. Good. That sentence is now yours. Daniela took a small breath and answered, Yes, I can give you the contact information for my supervisor back home. I also volunteer at my church, helping elderly members of the community, and the pastor there knows my work ethic very well. I can give you his information too, if that helps. Rachel's face brightened. That's great, actually. Volunteer experience like that tells me a lot about your character, especially in this field. She wrote something down, underlined it, and looked back up with a warmer expression than before. Do you see what just happened? Daniela did not have a perfect, traditional American reference list sitting ready in her pocket. Almost nobody does in the first year or two after arriving. But instead of freezing, instead of saying, "I don't have any," which closes the door completely, she offered what she actually had, clearly, in full sentences. With confidence. That is the real skill we are building in this video. Not perfect vocabulary. Real, usable, honest communication under pressure. Let's take a short break from the story. For one more, listen and shadow round, just to lock in everything we have covered so far before Daniela faces the two hardest questions of her interview. I'm going to say 5 short phrases, one at a time. After each one, repeat it out loud, exactly as I say it, even if you're listening in your car or in your kitchen right now. Thursday at 10 works for me. Shadow it. Thank you for having me. Shadow it. My qualifications include 8 years of experience, Watts. Shadow it. I'm available most mornings during the week. Shadow it. I can provide 2 references from my previous job. Shadow it. Wonderful. Say all 5 phrases one more time, from memory this time, without me saying them first. Take your time. This is your practice, your moment, and nobody is grading you except your own future self, the one who will walk into an interview room one day soon and already know exactly what to say. Soon. Here is something I want you to remember about Daniela's interview so far and about your own future interview whenever it happens. Notice that every single question Rachel asked was not designed to trick Daniela. It was not designed to expose weakness. Every single question was simply an employer trying to understand one thing. Can this person do the job? And can I trust this person? That is it. That is the entire purpose of a job interview, underneath all the nervousness and all the fear. Once you understand that simple truth, the whole conversation becomes less like a test and more like 2 people trying to figure out if they are a good match for each other. Daniela was starting to feel that shift happen inside her chest. Her shoulders relaxed just slightly. Her hands stopped sweating quite so much. She was still nervous. Of course, this was still one of the most important conversations of her new life in America, but the fear was no longer controlling her. She was speaking. She was being understood. And Rachel was smiling. But the interview was not over, not even close. Rachel closed the folder halfway, leaned back slightly in her chair, and said the words that make almost every job seeker's heart skip a beat, no matter what country they come from, no matter what language they grew up speaking. So, let's talk about pay. What are your salary expectations for this position? Daniela froze again, but only for a half second this time, because deep down, she already knew this question was coming. Every job interview eventually asks about money one way or another. And if you do not prepare specific English for this exact moment, it can feel like the floor just disappeared under your chair. This is exactly where we are going to pick back up in the next part of this lesson. Because talking about money in English clearly, confidently, and without feeling embarrassed is one of the most valuable skills you will ever build in this language. We are going to break down exactly what Daniela says next, word by word, phrase by phrase. And by the time we are finished, you will be able to talk about your own salary expectations in English without your voice shaking, without translating in your head, and without accepting less than you deserve simply because you did not know how to ask. Before we continue, let's do one more full listen and shadow round together, slower this time, so every word settles in. Listen first, then repeat after me, sentence by sentence. My qualifications include 8 years of hands-on experience. Shadow it. I'm available most mornings and some weekends if needed. Shadow it. I can provide 2 references, including a former supervisor. Shadow it. I think my experience lines up well with what you need. Shadow it. Notice how each of these sentences is short. Notice how none of them use complicated grammar. That is, on purpose. In a real interview, under real pressure, your brain does not have room for complicated grammar. It needs short, strong, true sentences that you have already practiced so many times that they come out automatically, the same way your own name comes out automatically. That is the goal of everything we are building today. One sentence at a time, one shadow round at a time, one small piece of courage at a time, salary expectations. This is the phrase Rachel used, and it is one of the most important phrases you will ever learn in English because money conversations feel scary in every language, but they feel especially scary in a second language when you are not 100% sure you are using the right words, the right tone, the right level of politeness. Listen to the full phrase first. Salary expectations. Shadow it slowly. Salary expectations. One more time at normal speed. Salary expectations. Here is what it means, in the simplest way. Your salary expectations are the amount of money you hope or expect to earn for doing this job. It is not rude to have an answer for this. It is not rude to know your own value. In America, employers ask this question constantly, and they expect a direct, clear answer. Not silence, not embarrassment. Here's the first tool I want to give you. A simple, safe sentence you can use in almost any interview, almost any job. In almost any job, when this question arrives. Listen to it. I'm looking for something in the range of $15 to $18 an hour, but I'm open to discussing it based on the full compensation package. Listen once more, a little slower, so every piece lands clearly. I'm looking for something in the range of $15 to $18 an hour. Shadow it. but I'm open to discussing it based on the full compensation package. Shadow it. Notice two important pieces inside that sentence. First, in the range of, which means between. A soft, flexible way to give numbers without sounding too rigid. Listen to that piece alone. In the range of. Shadow it. In the range of. Second, I'm open to discussing it, which means you are willing to talk more, willing to be flexible, not locked into one fixed number. Listen to that piece alone, too. I'm open to discussing it. Shadow it. I'm open to discussing it. Here is a second version of the answer. For a moment, when you genuinely do not know the typical pay for a job yet, which is completely normal, especially in your first year in a new country. Listen to this sentence. Honestly, I'm not fully sure what's typical for this role yet, so I'd love to hear what range you usually offer. Listen again, slowly. Honestly, I'm not fully sure what's typical for this role yet. Shadow it. So I'd love to hear what range you usually offer. Shadow it. This second sentence is powerful because it turns the question back to the employer, respectfully, honestly, without sounding weak. It is completely acceptable in American interview culture to ask the employer for their range first. See, again, many career coaches in this country actually recommend it because whoever gives a number first sometimes loses a little negotiating room. So turning the question back politely is a smart, normal move, not a sign of weakness. Now, back to Daniela, sitting in that small clinic office, hearing the words "salary expectations" hang in the air. She had practiced this exact moment more than any other part of the interview because she knew from watching videos just like this one that this question would come. She looked at Rachel, and instead of panic, she felt something closer to readiness. Honestly, I'm still learning what's typical for home health positions here in Ohio, Daniela said, her voice steady. I'd love to hear what range you usually offer for this role, and I'm sure we can find something that works for both of us. Rachel smiled, genuinely this time, not just a polite interview smile. That's a fair way to put it. We usually start around $16.50 an hour for aides with your level of experience, going up after the first 90 days once you're fully trained on our systems. Daniela nodded, and here is where her preparation truly paid off. She did not just accept silently, and she did not negotiate aggressively either. She found the middle path, the path most successful interviews actually take. That sounds fair to me, she said. I'd be happy to start there, especially knowing there's room to grow after training. Listen to that response. That sounds fair to me. Shadow it. That sounds fair to me. This is one of the most useful, short phrases in the entire English language for interviews, negotiations, and even everyday life. In America, it shows agreement without sounding desperate, and it shows confidence without sounding demanding. Say it one more time with me. That sounds fair to me. Let's do a quick listen and shadow round here. 3 sentences back to back, so this whole section locks into your memory. I'm looking for something in the range of 15 to 18 dollars an hour. Shadow it. I'd love to hear what range you usually offer. Shadow it. That sounds fair to me. Shadow it. Good. You now have 3 complete, natural, professional ways to handle the money question in an American interview. No matter which side of the conversation you find yourself on, whether you need to give a number first or respond to one. Rachel closed her folder fully now, and the tone in the room shifted. Softer, warmer, more like 2 people wrapping up a good conversation than an employer testing a candidate. But there was still one more moment coming, a moment that trips up even English learners who did well through the entire rest of the interview. The ending. Well, Daniela, I really enjoyed talking with you, Rachel said, standing up slightly and reaching for a pen. I have a couple more candidates to see this week, but I'll be making a decision by early next week. I'll follow up with you either way. There it was. Follow up. A phrase so common in American workplace. English that native speakers barely notice they are saying it. But for English learners, it can create a strange kind of confusion because follow alone means one thing, and follow up together means something completely different. Let's build this phrase together. The same careful way we built qualifications, availability, and references. Because this phrase does not just belong in interviews. You will hear it and need it in almost every professional situation in America forever. Listen to the phrase, follow up. Shadow it, follow up. One more time, a little slower. Follow up. Here is what it means, in simple words. To follow up means to contact someone again later after a first conversation, usually to give an update, ask a question, or check on progress. It is not the same as follow, which usually means walking or coming after someone physically. Follow up is almost always about communication, about a second contact after the first one. Example sentence, exactly as Rachel used it. I'll follow up with you either way. Listen again. I'll follow up with you either way. Shadow it with me now. I'll follow up with you either way. This means no matter the decision, yes or no, Rachel promises to contact Daniela with an answer. That word, either way, is important too. It means in both possible situations. Listen to it separately. Either way. Shadow it. Either way. Here is a second, very useful example. One you can use yourself actively, not just passively receive from an employer. I wanted to follow up on the position we discussed last week. Listen again, slowly. I wanted to follow up on the position we discussed last week. Shadow it with me. I wanted to follow up on the position we discussed last week. This sentence is gold for you because many English learners get an interview, feel good about it, and then simply wait in silence for days or weeks, terrified to reach out again. Worried it might seem pushy or rude. But in American workplace culture, following up once, politely, after about a week, if you have not heard back, is completely normal, expected, even respected. It shows genuine interest in the job. Here is a full follow-up email sentence you could send. Hi, Rachel. Just wanted to follow up on my interview last Thursday. I remain very interested in the position, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions. Listen to that once more, in 3 pieces. Hi, Rachel. I just wanted to follow up on my interview last Thursday. Shadow it. I remain very interested in the position. Shadow it. I'm happy to answer any additional questions. Shadow it. Now it's your turn, one more time. Imagine you just finished an interview and it has been about a week with no answer. Say, out loud, right now, I wanted to follow up on my interview. Say it again, a little more confidently this time. I wanted to follow up on my interview. That sentence, right there, could one day be the difference between a job that slips away in silence and a job that becomes yours, simply because you were brave enough to ask. Back in the small clinic office, Daniela stood up from her chair, smoothing her blouse, feeling something she had not felt in months. Not fear, something closer to pride. Thank you so much for your time, she said, extending her hand toward Rachel. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from you. Listen to that closing sentence. I look forward to hearing from you. Shadow it. I look forward to hearing from you. This is the classic professional way to end almost any interview or important meeting in America. It is warm, it is confident, and it leaves the door open without sounding desperate. Rachel shook her hand firmly. It was great meeting you, Daniela. Honestly, I have a really good feeling about this. I'll be in touch soon. I'll be in touch. One more small but mighty phrase. It means I will contact you. Listen to it. I'll be in touch. Shadow it. I'll be in touch. You will hear this constantly in professional American English. At the end of interviews, meetings, even casual conversations with new acquaintances. It is a warm, open-ended promise of future contact. Daniela walked out of that clinic into the parking lot. And for a moment, she just stood there, next to her car, in the cool morning air, and let herself feel it. She had done it. She had sat through an entire job interview, in English, her second language, and she had not frozen. She had stumbled a little inside her own head once or twice, sure, but on the outside, she had spoken clearly, answered honestly, and even negotiated her pay with confidence. 3 days later, her phone rang again. It was Rachel. Daniela? I wanted to follow up like I promised, Rachel said, and Daniela could hear something warm in her voice already. We'd love to offer you the position. Can you start training next Monday? Daniela closed her eyes for a second, right there in her kitchen, and felt tears come, the good kind, the kind that arrive after months of fear, finally releasing all at once. Yes, she said, her voice a little shaky but full of joy. Yes, absolutely. Monday works perfectly for me. This is where I want to pause the story for just a moment, because I want you to notice something important. Daniela's English did not become perfect in those 3 weeks between finding the job listing and getting the offer. Her accent was still there. Her grammar was not flawless. If you had recorded her interview and studied it word by word, you would find small mistakes, scattered throughout. But none of that mattered. None of it. Because Daniela was not trying to sound like a native speaker. She was trying to communicate clearly, honestly, and with confidence, using specific, prepared, practical phrases exactly like the ones we have been building together in this video. That is the entire secret. Not perfection. Preparation. Now, let's shift gears for a moment, because I want to make sure every single phrase from this lesson is fully locked into your memory, ready to use the moment you need it, not just today, but months from now, whenever your own interview moment arrives. We are going to do something called a pattern drill. This means I am going to give you a few flexible sentence frames, and then I am going to give you many different ways to complete them. Quickly, one after another, so your brain starts to see the pattern instead of just memorizing single sentences. This builds real, flexible fluency, not just memorized scripts. Here is the first frame. I have years of experience in one. Listen to some examples. I have 3 years of experience in retail. I have 5 years of experience in construction. I have 10 years of experience in childcare. I have 2 years of experience in food service. Now you try it out loud with your own real experience right now. Good. Here is the second frame. I'm available. Listen to some examples. I'm available weekdays. I'm available evenings and weekends. I'm available full-time starting next month. I'm available part-time, around 20 hours a week. Now you try it with your own real availability out loud right now. Here is the third frame. My main qualification is. Listen to some examples. My main qualification is my customer service experience. My main qualification is my certification in first aid. My main qualification is my bilingual communication skills. My main qualification is my reliability and work ethic. Now you try it out loud right now with something true about yourself. Here is the fourth frame. I can provide references from. Listen to some examples. I can provide references from my last employer. I can provide references from my volunteer work. I can provide references from my training program. I can provide references from people in my community. Now you try it out loud right now. Here is the fifth frame, the money frame. I'm looking for something around, but I'm open to discussing it. Listen to some examples. I'm looking for something around $18 an hour, but I'm open to discussing it. I'm looking for something around $40,000 a year, but I'm open to discussing it. I'm looking for something around $15 an hour to start, but I'm open to discussing it. Now you try it with a real number, out loud. Right now, let's keep going, because the sixth frame is one you will use at the very end of almost every interview, and it is one of the most overlooked phrases by English learners, even ones who did well through the rest of the conversation. That Here is the frame. I look forward to 1. Listen to some examples. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to learning more about the role. I look forward to the next step in the process. I look forward to working with your team. Now you try it out loud right now in your own words. Here is the 7th frame, useful for that moment when the employer asks if you have any questions for them, a moment that surprises many English learners because they assume the interview only goes one direction. Listen to the frame. I was wondering. Listen to some examples. I was wondering, what does a typical day look like in this role? I was wondering, is there room for growth in this position? I was wondering, when would training start? I was wondering, how many people are on the team? Now you try it, out loud, right now, with a real question you might actually want to ask. This last frame matters more than most learners realize. In American interview culture, having at least one thoughtful question ready is almost expected. It shows genuine interest. And silence at this exact moment, saying no, I don't have any questions, can sometimes make a strong interview end on a weaker note than it needs to. So keep at least one question ready, always using this exact frame if you need to. Let's slow down for one more full round of listening and shadowing, pulling together every single frame we just practiced, back to back. So this entire lesson locks firmly into your memory before we return to Daniela's story. I have 5 years of experience in home care. Shadow it. I'm available mornings and weekends. Shadow it. My main qualification is my patience with elderly patients. Shadow it. I can provide references from my volunteer work. Shadow it. I'm looking for something around $16 an hour, but I'm open to discussing it. Shadow it. I look forward to hearing from you. Shadow it. I was wondering, what does a typical day look like in this role? Shadow it. Wonderful! Notice something powerful about what you just did. Those 7 sentences, strung together, could carry you through almost the entire spoken portion of a real job interview in America, from the very first question to the very last handshake. That is not an accident. That is exactly what preparation looks like, built one small piece at a time, the same way Daniela built hers over 2 quiet weeks of practice before her interview ever happened. Now, let's return to Daniela, because her story has one more small chapter, a chapter that matters just as much as the interview itself, maybe even more, because it shows you something important about what happens after the fear passes, after the offer comes. When real life, real work, and real English keep going every single day after that, Monday morning arrived, cold and a little gray, the kind of morning that makes you want to stay under the blankets a little longer. But Daniela was up before her alarm, her new navy blue scrub top laid out on the chair the night before, her shoes all ready by the door. She drove to Sunrise Home Care with a strange mix of nerves and excitement, swirling together in her chest. Familiar now, because she recognized this feeling from the interview itself. Nervous excitement. A good kind of fear. Inside, a woman named Patricia, the training coordinator, greeted her with a warm handshake and a clipboard full of paperwork. "Welcome to the team, Daniela. We're really glad to have you. Let's get you set up with your login information, your ID badge, and then I'll walk you through your first assignment." Login information, ID badge. First assignment. 3 more small but important phrases that appear on almost every first day of any job in America, no matter the field. Let's build these quickly together because your own first day is coming too, and you deserve to walk into it prepared, not surprised. Second, listen to the first phrase, login information. Shadow it. Login information. This simply means the username and password you need to access a work computer system, a schedule app, or a company account. Example sentence. I'll email you your login information before your first shift. Listen again. I'll email you your login information before your first shift. Shadow it with me now. Listen to the second phrase. ID badge. Shadow it. ID badge. This means a small card, usually with your photo and name, that identifies you as an employee, often needed to enter certain buildings or clock in for your shift. Example sentence. Make sure you wear your ID badge at all times during your shift. Listen again. Make sure you wear your ID badge at all times during your shift. Shadow it with me now. Listen to the third phrase. First assignment. Shadow it. First assignment. This simply means the first task, client, or piece of work you are given. Example sentence. Your first assignment will be shadowing one of our senior aides for the morning. Listen again. Your first assignment will be shadowing one of our senior aides for the morning. Shadow it with me now. Notice that word again. Shadowing. Used in a completely different way here than how we use it in this lesson. In a work setting, shadowing means watching and following an experienced coworker closely, learning by observation before doing the task alone. It is one of the most common training methods in American workplaces, especially in healthcare, retail, and hospitality. Listen to one more example. You'll be shadowing me for your first 2 shifts, and then we'll see how you feel about working independently. Shadow it with me now. You'll be shadowing me for your first 2 shifts, and then we'll see how you feel about working independently. Daniela spent her first morning quietly following an experienced aide named Marcus, watching how he greeted an elderly client named Mr. Whitfield, how he checked his blood pressure with steady, practiced hands, how he chatted easily about the weather and the client's grandchildren while doing his work. Daniela listened closely, not just to the medical routine, which felt familiar and comfortable to her already, but to the small, casual English phrases Marcus used throughout the visit, the kind of natural, everyday language that no textbook ever quite teaches. How are we feeling today, Mr. Whitfield? Marcus asked warmly. Any dizziness? Any new aches since I saw you last? Mr. Whitfield chuckled. Just the usual creaky knees, but nothing new to report. Daniela filed that phrase away in her memory immediately. Nothing new to report. Listen to it with me now. Nothing new to report. Shadow it. Nothing new to report. This is a wonderfully useful phrase in home health care and in many other jobs, meaning everything is the same as before. No new problems, no new updates. You will hear it constantly if you work in any caregiving or medical support role in America. By the end of that first shift, Daniela sat in her car in the parking lot again, just like she had after her interview weeks earlier, and she let out a long, slow breath. Her English had not been tested the way it was tested in the interview room, not exactly, but it had been used all day long in small conversations, quiet observations, and gentle questions, and every single time it had been enough. Not perfect. Enough. And enough, it turns out, was exactly what she needed all along. Before we finish this section, let's slow down one more time and shadow the phrases from Daniela's first day. So they stay with you long after this video ends. I'll email you your login information before your first shift. Shadow it. Make sure you wear your ID badge at all times during your shift. Shadow it. Your first assignment will be shadowing one of our senior aides. Shadow it. Nothing new to report. Shadow it. Notice how different these phrases feel from the interview phrases we practiced earlier. The interview phrases were about proving yourself, showing your value, answering under pressure. These first-day phrases are calmer, softer, more about settling in, learning the rhythm of a new workplace. Both sets matter. Both sets are part of the same journey, the journey from I don't know if I can do this in English to I did this in English, and I can keep doing it. Marcus checked in with Daniela near the end of that first shift, leaning against the break room counter with 2 cups of coffee, handing her one without asking if she wanted it, the way coworkers do once they've decided they like you. You did great today, he said. Seriously. A lot of new hires freeze up the first day, especially with clients who talk a mile a minute. You handled it. Daniela smiled. A real smile, tired but proud. Thank you. I was really nervous this morning. Everybody is, Marcus said, shrugging easily. First days are like that. No matter how long you've been doing this kind of work, you'll settle in fast, though. I can already tell. That short exchange, casual, warm, unplanned, was maybe the truest test of everything Daniela had practiced. Not a scripted interview question, not a rehearsed sentence. Just 2 coworkers talking, and Daniela keeping up, understanding, responding, connecting in English without translating first in her head. That is the real destination underneath every lesson on this channel. Not passing a test, belonging in the conversation. We still have a little more ground to cover together before we close out this lesson completely. B. There are a few more essential frames I want to give you. The kind that will carry you through your first week at any new job, not just the interview. And then we will bring this entire journey, Daniela's and yours, to its full and proper close with one final review of everything you have built today, so it stays with you long after this video ends. Good content is fine, just missing a transition line. Let me insert the new narrative passage, plus a transition sentence here, which will add the needed word count. Strategized content expansion to meet word count requirements. Strategized content expansion to meet word count requirements. Almost there. Need a bit more. Edited a file, ran a command. Edited a file, ran a command. Close. Need a little more. Edited a file, ran a command. Edited a file, ran a command 111942 total. Just under 12,000. Close enough given rounding, but let me add a touch more to be safely compliant. Deliberated on content expansion requirements. Deliberated on content expansion requirements. Total confirmed at 12,000 seeds 6 words over the 12,000 minimum with turn 3 at 3,589 words. Here is the final part of the script. Output final turn 3 text. Output final turn 3 text. Let's add a few more frames now. The kind you will need not on interview day, but during your very first week at any new job, because that first week has its own small tests, its own small moments where the right English phrase, ready and waiting, makes everything feel just a little less overwhelming. Here is the 8th frame. Where can I find? Listen to some examples. Where can I find the break room? Where can I find the time clock? Where can I find the supply closet? Where can I find the restroom? Now you try it out loud, right now, imagining your own first day somewhere new. Here is the 9th frame. Could you show me how to? Listen to some examples. Could you show me how to clock in? Could you show me how to fill out this form? Could you show me how to use this system? Could you show me how to reach you if I have a question? Now you try it. Out loud right now. Here is the 10th frame, one of the most important of all, because it protects you when something is unclear, and unclear moments happen to every single new employee, in every single job, in every single country. Could you repeat that, please? Listen to it. Shadow it. Could you repeat that, please? One more time, a little slower. Could you repeat that, please? This simple sentence is not a weakness. It is not an admission of poor English. It is a normal, professional, completely acceptable thing to say. Even for native speakers, especially in a noisy workplace or during a fast explanation on a busy first day. Here is a softer version of the same request for a moment when someone is speaking especially fast. Sorry, could you say that a little slower? Listen again. Sorry. Could you say that a little slower? Shadow it with me. Sorry, could you say that a little slower? Nobody in America will think less of you for asking this. In fact, most people appreciate it because it means you actually want to understand correctly rather than nodding along and making a mistake later. Let's do one more full listen and shadow round, pulling these three new frames together. Where can I find? The break room. Shadow it. Could you show me how to clock in? Shadow it. Could you repeat that, please? Shadow it. Excellent. Notice something about all three of these sentences. They are questions, not statements. And that matters because so much of what makes English learners freeze in a new workplace is not a lack of vocabulary. It is a fear of asking questions, a fear that asking makes you look weak or unprepared or not good enough. But the opposite is actually true, especially in American work culture. Asking clear questions at the right moment in polite English is one of the strongest signals you can send that you are serious, careful, and reliable. Daniela learned this lesson slowly over her first 2 weeks at Sunrise Home Care, one small question at a time. She asked Patricia, "Could you show me how to log my hours in the system?" On her second day, she asked Marcus, "Could you repeat that, please?" when he explained a new client's medication schedule too quickly. She asked another coworker, "Where can I find extra gloves?" when the supply closet in her usual hallway ran empty. Every single question, small as it was, built a little more trust, a little more confidence, a little more belonging by the end of her first month. By the end of her first month, something remarkable had happened. Something Daniela almost did not notice until she stopped to think about it one evening while making dinner. She was no longer translating in her head before she spoke. Not always. Not perfectly, but often enough that it felt different, felt lighter, felt like English had quietly become a tool she used. Instead of a wall she had to climb over every single time she opened her mouth. This is the transformation I want for you too, and it starts exactly the way it started for Daniela. Not with perfect grammar, not with a native accent. It starts with specific, practical, prepared phrases. The kind we have spent this entire video building together. One word, one sentence, one shadow round at a time. Let's slow down and add one more real moment from Daniela's first month, because it shows you something that no vocabulary list alone can teach, the way small English victories start to stack quietly on top of each other until one day they add up to something you almost cannot believe. About 3 weeks into her new job, Daniela was assigned to visit a client on her own for the very first time, without Marcus, without Patricia, without anyone standing beside her to catch a mistake or fill in a gap. The client was an older man named Mr. Delgado, recovering from hip surgery, living alone in a small house on the edge of town. On the edge of town with a garden he clearly used to be proud of, now slightly overgrown. The way things get when a body can no longer keep up with a mind that still wants to work. Daniela knocked on the door, her heart doing that familiar interview day flutter again. even though this was not an interview at all, just a normal Tuesday visit. Mr. Delgado opened the door slowly, leaning on his walker, and squinted at her for a moment before smiling. "You're the new one Marcus told me about," he said. "Daniela, right? Come on in, sweetheart. Mind the step." "Thank you," Daniela said, stepping carefully over the small threshold. "How are you feeling today, Mr. Delgado? Any pain since your last visit?" Listen to that opening question, because it is nearly identical to the one Marcus used with Mr. Whitfield earlier in this lesson, and that repetition is not an accident. This is exactly how real fluency develops, not through hundreds of different sentences, but through a small set of trusted, flexible phrases used again and again in slightly different situations until they stop feeling like memorized English and start feeling like your own natural voice. How are you feeling today? Shadow it. Any pain since your last visit? Shadow it. Mr. Delgado waved a hand. "Oh, you know, the usual creak and groan. Nothing new to report. Though I will say this hip of mine is not what it used to be." There it was again. Nothing new to report. The exact phrase Daniela had learned weeks earlier, now arriving naturally in a real conversation, exactly when she needed it, exactly as she expected it. She smiled, genuinely this time, because she understood him completely, instantly. Without a single flicker of confusion, they talked for a while as she checked his vitals, wrote notes in the company app, Nat's hat, and helped him with a few light exercises his physical therapist had recommended. At one point, he asked her something that had nothing to do with medicine at all. "So where are you from originally, Daniela? I can hear you're not from around here, but I mean that as a compliment. Takes real guts to build a whole new life somewhere else." Daniela paused for just a second, not out of fear this time, but out of something closer to reflection. "I'm from a small town, about 6 hours from the capital," she said. "I moved here 2 years ago. It hasn't been easy, especially with the language, but I'm getting there, little by little. Little by little," Mr. Delgado repeated, nodding slowly. "That's how anything worth doing gets done, isn't it? Nobody builds a house in one day." Listen to that phrase for a moment, little by little, because it captures something important about this entire lesson, maybe the most important thing of all. Shadow it. Little by little. English fluency, job confidence, a whole new life in a new country. None of it arrives all at once in one perfect interview, in one lucky phone call. It arrives little by little, one prepared sentence at a time, one brave question at a time, one first day survived, one follow-up call finally made after days of hesitation. Let's return to our pattern drills for just a few more rounds, because I want to give you a little more flexibility with some of today's key phrases before we close, so they stretch beyond just Daniela's specific story and become fully, truly yours. Here is an extra round using the "How are you feeling" frame. useful far beyond healthcare jobs, actually useful in almost any customer-facing or caregiving role in America. Listen to some examples. How are you feeling about the new schedule? How are you feeling about your first week so far? How are you feeling? Any concerns I should know about? Now you try it out loud, right now, in your own words, thinking of someone you might ask this to. Here is an extra round using the little by little idea, but turned into a frame of its own. I'm improving little by little with, listen to some examples. I'm improving little by little with my pronunciation. I'm improving little by little with my confidence at work. I'm improving little by little with understanding fast conversations. Now you try it, out loud, right now, with something true about your own journey. And here is one final frame, maybe the most personal one in this entire lesson, because it is not about a job or an interview at all. It is about you, right now, watching this video. I used to be afraid of, but now I'm working on. Listen to the example that matters most today. I used to be afraid of English job interviews, but now I'm working on it, one lesson at a time. Say that sentence out loud, right now, with your own real fear and cite it, whatever it is. Let it be true. Let it be honest. That honesty, spoken out loud, even quietly, even just to yourself in your own kitchen, is the exact same kind of courage that carried Daniela through that small clinic office weeks ago. I want to give you one more small scene before we close, because it answers a question. I know some of you are silently asking right now, what if the interview does not go this well? What if you follow up? And the answer is no. A few months after Daniela started at Sunrise Home Care, her cousin, the same one who had sent her that original job listing, went through an interview of her own for a warehouse position across town. She practiced her phrases the same way Daniela had. She used "my qualifications include" and "I'm available" and "that sounds fair to me" in a small office with fluorescent lights and a manager who barely smiled through the whole conversation. A week later, the follow-up call came, and the answer was no. They had chosen another candidate. Daniela's cousin cried a little that evening. Understandably, because rejection stings in any language, and it stings a little sharper when you already worried. Yuri, your English was the reason, even when it almost never actually is. But here is what Daniela told her that night, sitting together at the kitchen table, and it is what I want to tell you too, right now, before this lesson ends. You didn't fail because of your English, Daniela said. You used the right words. You showed up prepared. Sometimes it's just not the right match, and that has nothing to do with you. Listen to that phrase. A useful one for your own heart, not just your vocabulary. That has nothing to do with me. Shadow it. That has nothing to do with me. 2 weeks later, Daniela's cousin used the exact same prepared phrases in a different interview at a different company with a manager who smiled the entire time. She got that job. Same English. Same preparation. Different room, different outcome. That is simply how job searching works. In every language, in every country, for every person who has ever looked for work. Preparation does not guarantee a yes every single time, but it guarantees that when the yes finally comes, and it will come, you will be ready to walk through that door with your head up and your voice steady. I think about that difference often. The difference between a no that feels like a wall and a no that feels like a redirection. When you walk into an interview without any prepared English, without any practiced phrases, a rejection can feel like proof that you are not good enough, that maybe you never will be. But when you walk in prepared, the way Daniela's cousin eventually did, a rejection becomes something much smaller and much more survivable. It becomes simply, not this one, not this time, instead of not me, not ever. That shift in meaning, small as it sounds, changes everything about how long someone keeps trying. And trying, after all, is the only thing that actually gets anyone hired. I also want you to notice something quiet but important in that story. Daniela did not just learn English for herself. She passed it forward to her cousin at a kitchen table on a hard night with exact phrases she had once needed herself. That is often how this works. In real communities, in real families, one person builds the courage first, and then that courage and those exact words travel outward to the next person who needs them. Maybe one day soon, you will be the one sitting at your own kitchen table, sharing, "That sounds fair to me," or "I look forward to hearing from you," with someone in your own life who is still afraid to say them out loud. That, too, is part of what it means to build a life in a new language. Not just surviving it alone, but carrying it forward for someone else. Take a moment right now, before we move into the final review, and think of one person in your own life who might need exactly what you have practiced today. Maybe it is a neighbor still avoiding an application. Maybe it is your own future self, 6 months from now, walking into a room you have not even found yet. Hold that person or that version of yourself in your mind for just a second. Everything we review next is for them too, not only for you. Let's bring everything together now, one final time, with a complete review of every single phrase from this lesson. So you leave this video not just informed, but genuinely ready from the interview itself. Thursday at 10 works for me. Shadow it. Thank you for having me. Shadow it. I have 8 years of experience as a nursing assistant. Shadow it. My qualifications include hands-on experience and training. Shadow it. I'm available most mornings during the week. Shadow it. I can provide references from my previous job. Shadow it. I think my experience lines up well with what you need. Shadow it. From the money conversation, I'm looking for something in the range of $15 to $18 an hour. Shadow it. I'd love to hear what range you usually offer. Shadow it. That sounds fair to me. Shadow it from the closing of the interview. I'll follow up with you either way. Shadow it. I wanted to follow up on my interview. Shadow it. I look forward to hearing from you. Shadow it. I'll be in touch. Shadow it. From the first day on the job. I'll email you your login information before your first shift. Shadow it. Make sure you wear your ID badge at all times. Shadow it. Your first assignment will be shadowing a senior coworker. Shadow it. Nothing new to report. Shadow it. From your first week of questions. Where can I find the break room? Shadow it. Could you show me how to clock in? Shadow it. Could you repeat that, please? Shadow it. And from today, from your own life, little by little, shadow it. I used to be afraid of this, but now I'm working on it. Shadow it. Take your time with this final round. There is no rush here, no manager waiting, no clock ticking down. This is just you, your own voice, and the words you are about to own for the rest of your working life in this country. Say all of these once more, out loud, right now, at your own pace, in your own voice. Not because I am asking you to, because your future self, sitting in an interview chair, or standing in a new break room, or picking up the phone to follow up on an application, is going to need these exact words. And the only way they will be ready when you need them is if you practice them now, today, while the fire behind your eyes is still warm. I want to close this video the way I close every lesson on this channel. Not with more vocabulary, but with something a little more honest. If you are watching this because you are scared of your next interview, or because you already went to one and it did not go the way you hoped, I want you to hear this clearly. That fear does not mean something is wrong with you. It means you care. It means this matters to you, your family, your future here in this country. That caring is not weakness. It is exactly the fuel that carried Daniela through her own fear, question by question, phrase by phrase, until the fear was no longer in control of the room. You do not need to sound like a native speaker to build a life here. You do not need perfect grammar to be respected, to be hired, to be trusted with responsibility. You need clear communication, honest answers, and a small set of prepared phrases. You have practiced enough times that they come out steady, even when your heart is pounding underneath your calm voice. That is not a small thing. That is everything. Think back for just one more moment to the very beginning of this video, to that small self-test I asked you to imagine. Sitting across from a manager, hearing the words, "Tell me about yourself," and wondering if you could answer in 3 seconds without translating first. I want you to imagine that same moment again, right now, one more time. But picture it differently this time. Picture yourself calm, prepared, opening your mouth, and the words simply arriving because you built them here today, sentence by sentence, exactly the way Daniela built hers. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is not something reserved for other people who somehow had it easier, who arrived earlier, who had more time to study. It is available to you, starting the moment you decide to practice one of today's phrases out loud, even once, even quietly, even right now before this video ends. Next time on this channel, we are going to walk through a different everyday challenge. The moment when your phone rings and it is your child's school calling, or a delivery service asking for directions, or a doctor's office confirming an appointment. Fast, unexpected English, with no warning and no time to prepare a script in advance. We will build that toolkit together too, the same way we built today's phrase by phrase, shadow round by shadow round, until it feels like yours. For now, I want you to do one thing before you close this video. Say one sentence from today's lesson out loud, one more time, the one that felt most useful to you personally. Just one. Say it clearly. Say it like you mean it. Because the next time you need it, in a real room, with a real person waiting for your answer, you will already know, deep in your voice and not just in your memory, exactly what to say. If this lesson helped you, please subscribe to EFL USA and tap the bell so you never miss the next video in this series. Share it with someone in your life who needs this today. Someone who has been putting off an application, or avoiding a phone call, or staring at a job listing with the same fear Daniela once felt. Your story, like hers, is still being written, one brave sentence at a time. One last thing before I go. Somewhere out there, right now, someone is closing their laptop before finishing a job application, the exact same way Daniela once did. For the exact same reason, the fear of one single question they are not sure they can answer. If that person is you, I hope today's lesson became the reason you opened that laptop back up. And if that person is someone you know, I hope you send them this video, not as a hint, but as a gift, the same quiet, generous gift Daniela gave her cousin at that kitchen table. I'm Grace. This is EFL USA. Keep practicing. Keep showing up. Keep speaking, even when it's hard, even when it's imperfect, even when your voice shakes a little at the start. I believe in you.